Hello! Welcome to the Nowman Show. I am Nowman, the superhero of the present moment. Hello, this is Niswander, and you're watching the Nowman Show. My guest is Jimmy Dore, who is a political comedian and satirist. He grew up in a family of 12 on the southwest side of Chicago. He's currently now a Los Angeles resident. He has hosted several specials, and now he is the host of the Jimmy Dore Show, which is heard locally here on KPFK FM. He also has performed in comedy festivals and even for the troops in Afghanistan. In 2014, he authored his first book, which is Your Country is Just Not That Into You. I want to read this subtitle here too. How the media, Wall Street, and both political parties keep on screwing you even after you've moved on. That's the part I really like, even after you've moved on. Okay, he's a frequent guest on the Young Turks, has his own show there on their comedy program. His stand-up show is available on Hulu. It's called Sentenced to Live. And he most recently appeared at the first annual unconventional political convention in Los Angeles called Politicon. Welcome to the Nowman Show.
Hey, thanks
Jimmy
for having
Dore.
me. It's so great to see you. Thanks for having me. It's a blast.
Oh, it's great. We're going to have a lot of fun here, okay? So, first of all, I'm a preacher's son, okay? So I have to, oh yeah, you get it. So I have to ask you, what in the world was it like growing up in a family of 12 that was Catholic?
Well, people say, they go, you learn a lot about life growing up in a big family, and you do. I think the biggest thing I learned is I'm easily replaced, right? Like, now, I knew if I died, it wasn't going to put a big dent in their plans. I couldn't imagine my mom sitting around, oh no, Jimmy's dead. What am I going to do now with just the 11 of you, right? And so it was like that. You know, that's why I started doing comedy. Of course, I was the youngest, so I had to get attention, so I did that. And we grew up Catholic. And my parents were really Catholic, like they almost molested somebody. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, they're serious, they're hardcore. I go to church, I don't molest, I'm a lazy Catholic. But, so yeah, and I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and that leads naturally right into comedy. It really, so comedy, you need comedy to help you laugh at the things that scare the hell out of you. So I went to 12 years of Catholic school, I really needed a lot of comedy.
So, have you always been funny, or was it that just came through your life experience?
You know, I always liked being around funny people. I always tried to be funny. So, yeah, I mean, I always remember trying to be funny for sure. And people always say to me, Jimmy, you went to Catholic school for 12 years. How come you're not a Catholic? Because I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I got a good look at it, so. So
you started performing at the Catholic school? In front of your friends,
you know what? Yeah, you know what? It's funny that some of my teachers, the nuns, did kind of recognize that I had a kind of a performer's outlook on things, and they would always have me come up in front of the class to do little things, which was kind of, you know, in retrospect, that was, I had some good teachers maybe in Catholic school.
Yeah. Apparently you did. They recognized talent, so that's a good sign, right?
Yes, that's good for them. The only thing more rare than talent is the ability to recognize talent.
Recognize talent. Mm-hmm. So you started going on the road around the country then?
Oh yeah, so I started doing comedy in Chicago in the early 90s. And I moved out to LA in '95 to get on TV, and I started doing stuff on Comedy Central and NBC right away, so it worked out. And now I've been doing the Jimmy Dore Show for about 6 or 7 years, and I wrote a book, and I've got my last special was called Citizen Jimmy. It was on Comedy Central, and it was an hour long, and that was chosen Best of the Year by iTunes. And the reason I tell you that is because it turns out if I don't, nobody will.
That's so.
Right. And my new one is called Sentenced to Live, and it's available on Hulu. So it's 75 minutes. Well, it's been called the best stand-up political special in the world by my mom. So that's what I like to tell people.
Well, how did you start doing the Jimmy Dore Show? Let's talk about that.
You know what? I was doing a show at the UCB Theater here in Los Angeles.
That's the Upright Citizens
The Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where all the great Stephen Colbert started there, what have you. And so they asked me to do it. They opened in LA in like 2006, and they asked me if I wanted to do a show. And so I said, sure. So I started doing this show where I play video clips and make fun of it, and we had a panel, kind of like a mixture between The Daily Show and The Bill Maher Show. It was kind of both of those together. And then I toured with that show for a while, and now Comedy Central gave me an hour special because of it. And so that's how it all started. It started over at the UCB Theater, and then I was going in one day on KPFK because one of the producers had seen my show, and they invited me in to come talk about it. And when I got done with my interview, the program director offered me a show. He said, "Would you like to do a show here?" And I said, "Sure." I had never done a radio show before, and I had to figure out how to do it really quickly, and I did. So I've been doing it ever since, and it's available as a podcast, and that's how most people hear it, I think. Although it does go across the country on Pacifica. We're on in New York on Tuesdays now, which is exciting. So
Yeah.
everything's working out great. And then the Young Turks, also I got introduced to the Young Turks online, which are the biggest online news show in the world. And so I've been working with them, and so everything's going great. And now here I am, right here with you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, you do really well in panel settings. Now, how you have a group of comedians on the show, right?
Right, yes. So we have Frank Conniff from Mystery Science Theater 3000, TV's
Excellent.
Frank.
Yeah.
He's always on the show. We have hilarious other people, Mike McRae from, he does the best impressions in the world.
Fantastic impressions.
Robert Yeselmer, a great writer, great hilarious performer. Steph Zamorano, she's from the Groundlings, she's great. So yeah, we always have a bunch of great, Michael Schertzer is also a part of the show now, Young Comic. So yeah, I'm lucky to have a lot of great people writing for me. Mark Van Landuit writes for us. So yeah, it's easy when you have a lot of good people around you.
I totally agree. And so when did you get into the Young Turks?
So 2011, Cenk Uygur, he was given the 6 o'clock time slot on MSNBC, and they were asking people to come in and guest host. And so I guest hosted for him in 2011, and then they gave him a show.
So that's kind of you have a panel discussion also, and then you have a comedy slot too as well?
No. I mean, we just we do sketches and stuff in between. So
that's fantastic.
yeah.
So now, do you consider yourself a political satirist rather than a stand-up comic? Or?
No, I consider myself just a comedian, a stand-up comedian, and I make jokes about more like George Carlin in a sense, you know. So just right now, people seem to have a palate because our political system, I don't know if you've noticed, it's way more screwed up than it used to be.
Right.
And it used to be, and it's because of the consolidation of power, right?
Yes.
So what happened in the 1980s, there used to be 50 major media companies, which is a lot, that owned all the media in America. Now there's only 6, some people say 5, right? So that everybody works for the same company pretty much. So
Yes.
that's why we're living in even though we have a booming economy right now, corporations are sitting on $5 trillion and they're not investing in our economy, and they say because they don't have confidence in the economy. And I say, if $5 trillion doesn't give you confidence, I'd try dance lessons.
Right, exactly.
So we're having booming corporate profits. Meanwhile, the biggest income disparity since the Gilded Age. So there's a big broken political system, and the Occupy Wall Street people, which the big mistake they made was they asked for a living wage instead of a golden parachute. That's what they should have asked for. And it's funny, you know, people are angry at poor people in America, and Occupy Wall Street wanted to call attention to that, and people got angry at them for pointing out the inequities. We're like our country, we're like adult children of alcoholics. We don't get mad at the guy who's beating us. We
Right.
get mad at the guy who's pointing out that someone's beating us. Hey, why are you pointing that out? So that's kind of where we are in America. And the problem also, we used to have a news media. We had Walter Cronkite in 60 Minutes. Well, the guys that used to investigate now bought the news media.
That's right.
So the problem with Brian Williams, everybody got mad at him because he puffed up his war record and he said he was on a helicopter that took a rocket fire, and it didn't, right? And then NBC threw him under the bus, and then he said that bus took rocket fire. The point is, with Brian Williams, the problem with him isn't him puffing up his resume. The problem with Brian Williams was that all through the Iraq War, he worked for General Electric, which was a huge defense contractor. And my question to Brian Williams is, how many checks do you take from a defense contractor in the middle of an illegal war before you stop calling yourself a news journalist? The answer turned out to be endless, right? So that's the problem with, and so the news media, if you've noticed, they've replaced objectivity with neutrality, because you can be objective and say that guy's a liar. You can be objective and say that's false. You can be objective and say science is a real thing. But if you replace it with neutrality, which is what they've done, now nobody's wrong and everybody's opinion is equal, especially the guy who's from the corporation who's wrong about everything, which is why half the country still thinks climate change isn't real, because they present it as a debate on the news. I was watching Brian Williams' news. He brought on a senator from Tennessee who said climate change isn't happening. And he brought on Bill Nye the Science Guy. He's got science right in his name.
Right.
She says
Right.
climate change isn't happening. He says it is. Brian Williams says thanks for the debate. hey, it's not a debate. It's only a debate on news shows like yours, Brian. You
That's
couldn't
right.
report the sports that way, right? You couldn't say, hey, the Cubs played the Dodgers last night. Cubs said they won 4-3. Dodgers said they won 4-3. Who really did? I guess we'll never know, but thanks for the debate.
Right,
So that's
right.
what's wrong. We have a sickness at the core of our culture, and it's money. And so money now has beaten everything. We used to, the core of our culture used to be competition. And now we've gotten rid of competition, which is what's necessary to make capitalism work. There's no more competition. What do you got? 3 telecommunication companies?
Yeah.
They own all the Comcast now owns they make the program, they sell the program, they deliver it. They own the cable company that brings it to your house. So we need a Teddy Roosevelt to split up the big antitrusts. We need to do that again, and we need to get money out of politics.
Yeah,
So that's the way people always say, "Well, Jimmy, what's your solution to fix all this?" You got to break up the big corporations,
Right.
and then I mean, we're bombing again. We've been
I know.
nonstop bombing. And they tell us that we're supposed to be afraid of the Muslims because it's
right.
their religion that makes them crazy killers, right?
That's right,
Although there's
that's right.
millions of Muslims living in America and they're not killing us ever.
That's
Maybe
right.
it's because we're bombing. If we found out there was oil in Salt Lake City and we started bombing it for 30 years straight, there'd be a lot of Mormon terrorists.
That's right. And we'd find, oh my gosh, there's not oil here. There's only salt.
So that's the problem. We always have bomb money, but we're firing teachers, right?
Yes,
As soon as the
yes.
economy crashes, they fire teachers because that's what gets you out of a depression. Dumber kids, right, Dan? That's what really.
Well, and there's also this discussion about socialism, is that most people don't even understand what it means.
Yes.
They think, okay, there's National Socialism, okay, it exists in Scandinavia, okay, it exists in Germany, it exists in where my family's from, in Switzerland. Okay, in the 21st century, yes, it was National Socialism in the 1930s in Italy and in Germany, but they were fascist dictators.
They were fascists, yes.
That's
Different.
a different thing. And also this thing with capitalism as well, when people say, but more people have been moved out of poverty because of capitalism more than any other system in history. And I'm thinking, that expression, lifting the boats, okay,
Yeah,
that's
rising
another
tide
thing.
does not raise all boats.
But when that did happen to some extent, that was in the past.
That's
we are
right.
now in the 21st century. Capitalism is failing.
Right.
We need to change this.
Well, because first of all, people don't realize that there is no such thing as a free market. There's just markets
Yes.
that we invent, and then we regulate them heavily. And the people with the most money get to rig those economies, those
Yes.
markets, in their favor, which is why when we have a booming economy, all the profits that the workers generate, all those profits go to the upper 1% instead of the people who are actually generating those profits. That's called a broken economy. That's what Marx actually warned people against
Yes.
about capitalism, that capitalism eats itself. And if we don't regulate it like FDR did, it will eat itself. But if you have good regulations on it, which is so that's the thing too. Bernie Sanders needs to stop saying he's not a capitalist. He needs to say, I'm a socialist, and if you're for Social Security, you are too. Everybody's for Social Security. Everybody's for Medicare. Everybody's for the fire department and the police department and libraries
That's
and
right.
roads and bridges and national parks. And that's what he says, that's socialism. So he's got to make people less scared of it. And that's the thing he's not doing. So he needs to do that.
And he also needs to really get into the basic fundamentals of what top priorities are. Because when you were talking about the media earlier, and as far as they're concerned, when they get their idea of controversial issues is gay marriage
Yes.
and legalizing marijuana.
Right.
Maybe we'll talk about Black Lives Matter. Maybe
Right.
we'll talk about women's rights, or women's rights to choose or whatever it
Yes.
is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is the real top priorities is you don't have to think about this. This is not a rocket science, right? Everybody needs healthy food, okay, clean water, clean air, I would say a reliable shelter, and clothes that, are at least reasonably comfortable, because you don't want to walk around nude all the time unless it's a nude beach. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then everybody needs health care.
And healthcare.
You know what I mean? And every major country, developed country has, and even countries like Saudi Arabia, for crying out loud, have single payer. Why can't we get
Israel has it.
that? Yeah,
Right.
I know.
Yeah. Why can't we get it? Because, again, our system of politics has been corrupted by money, right? So that's when Barack Obama comes out and he's complaining that we can't have gun legislation after another massacre. And he says, we need you to do, no, we need to get money. It's because the Congress is bought and paid for, and he won't say that. He
Right.
says, oh, it's because they're with special interests. So F does that mean exactly? What he needs to say is, oh, they're bought and paid for by people who make a profit selling more guns.
That's right.
So we have what this is called as a corrupt system, right? We need to get money out of politics. Barack Obama doesn't want to get money out of politics, right? He took more money from Wall Street than anybody before he did, right? So he's in bed with them, and that's a problem with Hillary Clinton too, right? They're in bed with those people ever since Bill Clinton, who was no friend of the working man. Bill Clinton is the one who got the Democrats in bed with Wall Street, and ever since then, it's like, well, what's the point? What's the point of being Democrats if you're going to be in bed with the people you're supposed to be opposing?
Right, exactly.
So that's what I don't understand. So that's what Ralph Nader, that's why he ran in 2000. And when he ran famously, his father asked Ralph Nader, he said, Ralph, do you really think America needs a third party? And he said, no, but we need a second one. And I tell you what, Barack Obama proved that, right? I mean, all he did was propose a bunch of Republican ideas, like their health care plan.
Yeah.
They say it's important to vote, right? And the last election, it was Romney against Barack Obama. And if Romney won, we were going to get Romney care. But Barack Obama won, so we got Romney care.
Yeah, right.
So we're going to get whatever the corporation wants us to get. And that's what they wanted us to get, was Romney care. And that's what we got.
That's exactly what we got. Well, we're going to take a short little break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the debates and the election of 2016 and have a fun little improv thing going on. So we'll be right back with Jimmy Dore. Hello, this is Nowman. I am the superhero of the present moment and the host of the Nowman Show.
I'm Andrew Keegan, and when I'm in LA, I watch the Nowman Show.
We have all kinds of interesting stuff. Education.
Think about it.
Entertainment.
Hi, my name is Erica Podest, and I'm a scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And next time I'm in Pasadena, I'll be checking out the Nowman Show.
Music, film.
Get down, get funky.
Hi, my name is Philip Carrillo. I'm a filmmaker, and each time I'm in Los Angeles, I'm watching the Nowman Show.
We're on location.
Hi, I'm John Fugelsang, and when I'm in LA, I like to buy lots of shoes and not walk anyplace. But also, I like to watch the Nowman Show because it is better than the best show on all of TV.
The Nowman Show is also on YouTube. Now!
That was a great promo, Dan. Look at that.
Thanks. So we're back here with Jimmy Dore on the Nowman Show. I'm Niswander. We were talking about, well, strangely, politics. Imagine that. So you mentioned earlier that we got to get the money out of politics. So do you think that and climate change are the most important issues facing the country right now? Or how
Well, I don't think you can solve climate change unless you get money out of politics.
Yeah.
And so I think every issue that's important, you got to fix the money in politics first. And until you fix that, because we already have 90% of people after the Sandy Hook shooting wanted some kind of gun legislation. We didn't get it. So you can't have more consensus than that ever. I don't have 90% consensus in my house, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
And by the way, here's a story that didn't get reported. Bloomberg did a poll of Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. Turns out 80% of Republicans and Democrats want Citizens United overturned, which is the
Yes.
Supreme Court decision that allowed all the money to come flowing into politics, right? So 80% of Democrats and Republicans polled want that overturned. What else do Democrats and Republicans agree on 80%? I don't think anything. Guess how many mentions that got in the mainstream news media, meaning CBS, NBC, ABC, PBS, and the Sunday news talk shows, and CNN? Zero.
Yep.
That got zero mention. So if nothing illuminates the problem of our culture, our body politic, and what's wrong with our society right there, there's a handful of oligarchs or plutocrats who own everything. And they don't want it. They don't even want us to get the information that we're in agreement. You know, Chomsky talked about that in Manufacturing Consent. That's really one of the big roles of the media, not only to be the mouthpiece of the corporations, right, and the status quo, but also to make you, with your ideas, feel, if your ideas are against the mainstream or what the corporation wants you to think, it makes you feel like you're the only one having those thoughts. that you're the only one. You're isolated.
Exactly.
You don't get reinforcement of your ideas in the
That's
media, and so that's what people don't realize. And so when a poll is done by Bloomberg that says 80% of Democrats and Republicans wants to turn the electoral process upside down and get the power away from the wealthy and put it back into the hands of the people, they just push that report underground, and we never hear about it, right? So here we are talking about it here. So that's really the problem. You got to get money out of politics. Well, how do you do it? So there's a couple of different groups right now that are actually making headway. There's a Mayday PAC. We've heard about that. There's one that Cenk Uygur started. And it's called wolf-pack.com. Wolfpack. So you go wolf-pack.com, and they've actually gotten so you need 35 states to pass to call for a constitutional convention
right.
around an idea. The idea is to get money out of politics. We got 4 states already. California being a big state. We got Illinois. We got New Jersey. I think they got New Hampshire was the other one. So
we don't have Vermont?
I'm sorry, Vermont.
Okay, yeah.
So this can happen, and it's about time. We've had lots of amendments to the Constitution. It's about time for one again.
And what's your take on the debates so far, Republican and Democrat?
Well, first of all, I love to listen to Donald Trump talk because every once in a while I'm in the mood to watch a Hitler documentary, and I want to hear it narrated by Gary Busey.
You know what I think? Every time I look at that hair,
Uh-huh.
I'm a big fan of Star Trek. I think of that episode, The Trouble with Tribbles.
Oh, I'm not a Star Trek fan.
Well, it's these little tiny balls of like little animals that are like balls of fur.
Oh, okay.
And they just multiply really, really fast.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to control them.
Well, the fact that
That's what I think of every time I look at that hair.
Yeah, I'd like to see the long-form birth certificate for his hair. I'd like to see that.
Right.
I love the fact that he gets to chase the president around for 4 years, race baiting, asking for his long-form birth certificate, which you know what that is. That's that thing nobody ever heard of until we had a black president, right? You have your long-form birth certificate.
That's right.
I keep mine right next to my KKK card in case I ever get pulled over driving through Ferguson.
Right.
And so, so that's crazy. And then they fire him when he says all that. I love how the news media, they call his controversial immigration comments instead of his racist immigration comments.
That's right.
In fact, I was watching MSNBC one day, and Katie Tour, who's a reporter referred to him as his racist immigration. She goes, "I'm sorry, his controversial." She literally said the truth and then had to quickly correct the record because she's a journalist on corporate TV.
Yeah, I know. I can't understand it. I mean, it's Bernie Sanders talks about the issues that I think are relevant, to the vast majority of people. As a matter of fact, there was a poll taken of millennials, both Republican and Democrat defined, okay? They all overwhelmingly think that Bernie Sanders is, more of what they are interested in, and Donald Trump even scares the Republican millennials.
Yeah, of course.
Scares them that if he becomes president, that we could easily get into a war just like that.
Oh, no doubt.
You know what I mean? So, but I think that focusing on the income inequality is actually getting some steam. People are responding to that, even in places like Jenner, Louisiana. So, what's your take on that? What do we need to do to draw people more to those issues that Bernie is actually doing?
Well, let me just say this. People really don't realize what reaming we're getting in the middle of the biggest reaming we've ever gotten from Wall Street and the military-industrial complex. People still find time to be angry at poor people, which kind of blows my mind. People are angry at welfare recipients and like, oh yeah, those fat cats at the bottom, or even some of the BS stuff people used to say about the market crash in 2008. Our economy cratered and people got mad at poor people because it was poor people's fault because they bought houses they couldn't afford.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, if there was only a way billionaires could insulate themselves from the penniless, there's
I
got to
know.
be a way. Hey, if that's really what crashed our economy, I say we take all our poor people, put them on a big ship, send them to China, and tell them to start buying houses, and that's where the joke ends, because that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed, and we'll talk about it more on this show for sure. You know what I want to do before we talk to you about what's coming up for Jimmy Dore? Let's do a little improv.
All right,
thing
let's do
here.
it.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Well, let's pull this. Be spontaneous here. Okay, literally pulling it out of the hat. And the first one is renewable and alternative energies.
And what is just my first impression?
yeah.
Renewable. I think yes, definitely. We need more oil.
Yeah, we need more oil.
You know, we live in sunny Southern California, so it's a good thing nobody really uses solar power. I drive to
Right.
I mean, why isn't there solar power on the top of everybody's houses? Because that would make sense.
Right.
This why there isn't a trolley system anymore in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Because the oil and tire companies didn't want them. They wanted
Exactly.
buses, right? And so that's why we have buses instead of a nice subway system and a nice trolley system. Again, it
Okay.
comes back to money. I hate to say it.
Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. GMOs.
GMO. I used to drive a Chevy GMO. Remember those? It was a 301 block
That's right.
engine. Yeah, with the
Except
posi
somebody dropped
traction.
the O.
Somebody did drop the O.
Dropped the O. Okay. Oh, we already did.
You know
we
what?
already talked about that one.
Speaking of GMO, like I try to eat healthy. I treat organic and whatever.
Yeah.
But like I said, I brought up Catholic, so I have a lot of guilt about everything. And the other day, I was eating some chicken.
Yeah. Oh.
And
so you're not obviously.
I'm not a vegetarian yet, right?
Yeah.
So I'm eating the chicken, and I started to feel guilty, like feel bad for the chicken. And then I thought to myself, well, maybe the chicken was sick,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Maybe the chicken was already going to die, and they just put it out of his misery, and that made me feel better,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And then I thought there must be a bunch of people just like me who would rather eat diseased chicken, right?
Right.
And then I thought I should open up a restaurant chain for people like me, and I'll call it El Polio Loco. And that's a funny joke because nobody gets polio anymore.
That's right. That's right. Thanks to Jonas Salk.
Thank God.
I know.
Thank God there wasn't a hedge fund manager around when he invented the vaccine for polio, right? Or else it would cost everybody $750 to get a polio shot.
Yeah, exactly. Unconditional guaranteed income for everyone.
Oh, not a bad idea, actually. I'm all for that. That's not. I've heard people talk about that, like the philosophers like Alan Watts.
Yeah.
He said something interesting. He said, you know, money isn't wealth; it just measures wealth, right? So when the stock market crashes, we still have the same wealth in America. There's just an accounting problem. He said that's like showing, you know, if you show up at the bank and they go, we're out of money, we'll print more. He goes, it's just like showing up at a construction site and saying, hey, we were out of inches. What? What do you mean you're out of? They just measure what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not what you're doing.
Jimmy, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's been a great time.
Yeah, I had a great time. Got some laughs and got some information out there, I think, that people can start thinking about and digesting.
All right. Well, if everybody could check out my special on Hulu, it's called Sentenced to Live. It just dropped a week ago, and it's available on iTunes and a lot of other places you can watch it, but Hulu is the main place. And I also have my show, the Jimmy Dore Show, which is available at jimmydorecomedy.com, jimmydorecomedy.com.
And you're also on KPFK
KPFK,
FM.
90.7 FM in Los Angeles every Friday at 3 p.m. and WBAI in New York every Tuesday at 6.
And that's, of course, in WBAI in New York, that's going to be Eastern Time, and then here in LA, it's Pacific Time.
That's correct.
So thank you so much, Jimmy, for being on the Nowman Show.
All right, my pleasure.
This is Niswander. Let's see, let's do one more here. I ran all far away.
Oh, it's always great how they find money to bomb. It's like, hey, do you have money for Social Security? No. Do you have any money for Medicare? No. How about bombs? Oh, we got bomb money. We
Yeah.
keep it right next to our drinking
Yeah,
money.
I
Nobody
know.
ever touches that.
I know.
And it's so funny, John Kerry was trying to get us to bomb ISIS, and he had to go and sell it. And he was giving a speech, and he said, you know, if you're for educating women, you'll be for bombing ISIS, because ISIS doesn't educate their women. And I was like, oh, you guys have found some pro-women education bombs you're going to drop over in Iran, Iraq, and Syria? What is it? Does it explode and books fly out of it? Maybe we should drop some of those on Texas.
Right. That's